In the past, I've praised the show Gotham for its many accurate adaptations of antagonists. I've also spoke a lot about recast roles in movies and TV. Well, today's topic brings the best of both worlds, as Gotham in its 5-season run had not one, not two, but 3 different people to play the part of Poison Ivy. This time around, the constant change in cast had more to do with creative choices than it did backstage bickering or contract disputes. You see, Gotham portrayed the plant princess as being, well, sort of a plant person after a certain amount of time. While she starts off as human, a mishap with a metahuman in Season 3 causes her aging process to progress, which is why multiple actresses played this antagonist. Though it does make this one scene from Season 1 feel like accidental foreshadowing, when Kid Ivy is pretending to be an older woman on the phone with Barbara Keene. Now, if she wanted to do that successfully, she would have just waited a season. Ivy's arc on the show was confusing to say the least, and creepy the more thought that you put into it, but we'll cross that bridge when we need to burn it to the ground. Before getting into who played the part, let's first dive into the part that they played. Gotham's Poison Ivy wasn't your traditional Poison Ivy by any means. She wasn't given the same name, the same aesthetic, the same attitude, or even the same origin as the character from the comics. Pamela Isley was now Ivy Pepper, and Ivy Pepper was never Poison Ivy. But then again, that might just be a standard of the show. Selina Kyle was never Catwoman, Jerome Valeska was never the Joker, and Bruce Wayne was only Batman for about a minute. Pepper came from an unfortunate upbringing. Her family weren't exactly upstanding citizens, with her father once being a prime suspect in the murder of the Waynes. Coming from an abusive household with very little love to give, Ivy found much more comfort in plants than parents, and has seemed to take that mentality into adulthood. Though, once again, for her, that's really only a couple weeks apart. The first actress in the role was Clare Foley. She portrayed Ivy in her younger years, with the future villain being around the same age as the one-day Batman and the someday Catwoman. As I said before, the depiction of the villain is substantially different than it is in the comics. But then again, I suppose it would have to be considering the circumstances. You see, Poison Ivy is a character whose basis is based in sexuality. Her power derives from seduction, being able to manipulate hormones. And for that reason alone, the character probably should have never made an appearance prior to her 20s. I don't know, I just kind of feel like if we're keeping a pre-Two-Face Harvey Dent and a pre-big-bellied Penguin as adults, the same could have, and probably should have, been done for this character as well. The show changes the character's characterization, at first swapping out her flirty nature with a vaguely creepy undertone. She's somewhat sarcastic, and can come off as street smart or headstrong. This actress doesn't get a whole lot of screen time, but she really makes the most of it, managing to bring personality into the little bit that she's given to do.
Ivy,
Ivy, is Daddy home?
you don't want to talk to Daddy.
Why is that, Ivy?
He's me. Billionaire Bruce Wayne. Stay cool now, Ivy. I am cool. Why are you telling me that? Why are you telling me what to do? Remember, I'm a vegan, no butter. Yeah. Look who it is. Billionaire Bruce Wayne. Who are you, his bodyguard?
If needs be, miss.
After being turned orphan, Ivy is homeless, living her life on the streets and forming a bit of a begrudging bond with Selina. The highlight of this first actress's time in Batman's rogues gallery has to be this friendship. Well, maybe friendship is actually exaggerating it a little bit at first. They're more like acquaintances that have shared a couple of foxholes together, but they have such a fun dynamic. It doesn't seem like there's much common ground between the two, but circumstances have put them in each other's paths, continually. Selina doesn't want to engage with her, but she does empathize with her, and because of this, the two protect each other where and when they can. But they've also been known to turn on each other if it's meant to save their own skin. It's an interesting premise that doesn't see a lot of play, but it's appreciated nonetheless. Earlier on, Ivy isn't an integral fixture in the world of Gotham, but she is always around and being affected by it. Her character makes her first appearance in the series' first episode. In episode 1, her father is accused of murdering the Waynes, and while resisting arrest, he meets his demise. Because she plays such a small role in the background of B-plots, there's not a whole lot to talk about with this version of the character. Though I will say that this actress played the part longer than any of her successors, acting as Ivy from Season 1 through Season 3. I definitely don't think this is the ideal iteration of Ivy, But then again, I don't think you can have an ideal version of the villain given the age. For its own premise, this version of the character was an interesting change, though most of these changes would later be changed back with the character's next evolution. Season 3 saw the show's second Ivy in Maggie Geha, an actress who would continue to play the part for the third and even some of the fourth season of the show. At the start of the season, Ivy stumbles upon her only friend with her new friends, and is punished for it. The man-made monster Marv, who has the ability to age those he touches to death, grabs the future villain by the wrist, before she falls into the waters beneath them. So when she washes ashore in the next episode, she's looking considerably different. However, the performance feels very much the same as the first. Maggie makes the transition between actresses feel very natural, as she feels like she's in the same vein with her plant person predecessor. Maggie's Ivy feels like exactly what it is, that being Claire's Ivy grown up. That's not always the case when changing course and switching actors. Very often recasts can feel like total reimaginings, but not so here.
What's with you and all the plants?
Oh, they're my friends. You know, plants make better friends than most people, and some of them help save your life.
I would like to introduce you to Nepeta cataria, or rather, a very specialized strain of a plant that I've been cultivating.
What is that?
Just a mix of clove, fenugreek, and yarrowroot oils.
It's lovely.
It is, isn't it?
Gotham also makes it clear that while the character's body has aged, her mindset has not. Despite being in her late teens or early adulthood, she still acts like the same street kid we've seen in the first season. I do think at times she can overplay it a little bit, which is typically the case when an older actor is tasked with playing a younger part, but it's far from terrible. You know, it's not quite Zachary Levi acting like a cartoon character instead of a child. I'm sorry, respectfully, the child's performance was a lot more mature than the actual grown man's. So in this case, it's not bad, it's just a little noticeable.
$1,000.
Fine.
Idiot. 2,000.
Fine.
5. No, 10. How much should I ask for?
This age up does make it uncomfortable when she's shown getting hit on by random men or seeing her try to flirt. And obviously, because of the nature of this character, this isn't a one-time gag. You're just always seeing men throw themselves at this little girl in a grown woman's body. It's a little bit unfortunate and very gross. But then again, on the other side of things, when the now semi-adult Ivy has to share the screen with her former friends, it's awkward seeing an adult hang around a bunch of kids. So the story just doesn't work well, even though the actress here does. The performance itself isn't the problem, the story beat is. The now older Ivy, I would say, acts a little more mindlessly than she did when she was younger. She's kinda in her Cyndi Lauper girls just wanna have fun phase, where she acts without thinking and thinks without reason, all in the name of having a good time. But you know, we've all been there. This stage of Poison Ivy sees her powers blossom. Through her basic botany, Ivy uses her advanced knowledge of plants to make hypnotic perfume out of them. We don't ever see this. This is just something Ivy Sr. starts using. It kind of feels like the show expected you to have an understanding of the character prior to the events of the show, so they're just writing what they think you already know. It's weird because she uses it weeks after she grows up, so how long has she been using this stuff? What has she been using it for? And why has she also never used this on screen before? This new trait gets brought up in passing, and you kinda just gotta look past it. Her main power doesn't mean a lot to the plot, because it's really only used as a MacGuffin to get the group into situations, or potentially get them out of situations. Which doesn't feel like the best use of her powers if I'm being honest. But then again, this never felt like the best use of the character to begin with. It's actually her perfumes that become her fall and then rise. Ivy goes to a rare spice shop, where she basically proceeds to OD and put herself in a comatose cocoon, where later her next actress emerges, adding yet another layer into her already complicated origin. The character saw her final actress in the show's final act, as teen Ivy was now transformed into adult Poison. And Ivy's final form felt a lot more true to form. Instead of feeling like an adjacent adaptation, this feels a lot more accurate. This Poison Ivy might as well have stepped out of a comic book panel. But it also has a whole new slew of other problems. Because while this makes her feel like the character that she's based on, it makes her feel less like the character that she's been up until this point. So this show is just constantly solving problems by creating other problems.
Gotham has a chance to be born anew, to return to what it was before people ripped down the trees and paved over the earth.
Plants love us. They give us food, shelter, the very air we breathe. But it's your name on the company that murders my little green friends.
To the actress's credit, it does feel like she's trying to juggle both being the comic character and being the character from previous seasons, but she only acts her age once or twice, like when it comes to being rejected by her best friend. The character's actual age especially makes her whole evil seductress act a little bit more bizarre than it needs to be. Sometimes it seems like the show's trying to curb the absurdity of this by making those under Ivy's spell superfans rather than stalkers that are intensely attracted to her. But that effect seems to be inconsistent at best, because a lot of the time, people do still wind up lusting for Ivy. So, yeah. No. But all weirdness aside, Peyton is perfect for this part. Helping matters is that the actress has a look and a voice that really complements the character well. She looks like the character from the comics, she sounds similar to the character from the cartoons, and she dresses like the character from the big screen, which is great in terms of accuracy. But past the cosmetics, Peyton gives such a natural performance as this nature enthusiast. Her voice is monotone and smooth, almost sounding hypnotic at times, speaking softly but with purpose. If her powers didn't put you in a trance, then her speeches will. As soon as Ivy made her final transformation, she pretty much accepts her role as a rogue, immediately embracing her villainy and turning to the dark side in an effort to make the world go green. Instantaneously, she feels like a larger-than-life threat, acting on behalf of Mother Nature. A far cry from the little girl who lived on the streets. And it's not just the character's performance that progresses, her powers do as well. No longer needing perfumes, and instead, the green thumb has been given a green thumb. Ivy poisons those she scratches. As if infecting her opponents with her venom wasn't bad enough, she also winds up acquiring water from the Lazarus Pit, which she uses to water her gardens and create a horrific arsenal of yard work, using people as pottery for her houseplants. Of course, her traditional powers of enthralling all those she encounters is also very much in effect as well, as she uses it to make an army of brainwashed drones to do her bidding, creating a society of superfans. It's such a basic use of her powers that we have yet to really see on screen, but man is it effective. I kinda wish we got to see more of this plot, but it's unfortunately quickly solved and moved on from. I think the worst part of this particular portrayal is how little we got of it. Unfortunately, the last Ivy was given the least amount of screen time, appearing in less episodes than both of her predecessors, but making the most impact despite that. Now, you might think that our story ends here, and a part of it does. But there is a little bit more to this, like the after-credits sting at the end of a superhero movie. While this would end Peyton List's time as Poison Ivy on Gotham, it wouldn't end Peyton List's time as Poison Ivy, as she would return to the role once again in the animated movie Batman Hush, lending her voice to the villain this time around. Sometimes performances don't always translate well between live action and animation. Just because someone does well on screen doesn't mean they're going to put in that work in the studio. Case in point, Tobey Maguire. Here's his Spider-Man in the movies.
They love me.
And here's his Spider-Man in the video games.
Whatever.
Luckily, this isn't one of those times, as Peyton brings the same energy to the role in the movie that she did in the show, showcasing just how in place her performance feels in a much more accurate Batman project.
Since I can't control you, maybe I'll finish our deal another way. Lover, kill them. How would you say it? Perfect. Say it for me, Kitty. Say, perfect. Wondered when you'd find me. Have you now? Not the hair!
So with that being said, that was the story of Gotham's Poison Ivy. A different version of the villain, with 3 different versions of this version of the villain. A part played well 3 times over, even if it was in the strangest of circumstances. So if you like this video and might want to see more Gotham content here on the channel, perhaps a video on Gotham Zaz? Well, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying,
That's Poison Ivy, and that's Poison Ivy.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was V Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.